This will be a super in-depth tutorial for how to use Aftershoot's culling and editing software. So if you are looking for a specific point, I will put little markers on the video. So check those out. First of all, if you want to get 15% off Aftershoot, you can use my code JT15. I've been using Aftershoot for quite a while, even before I had a sponsorship with them, so thank you for that. I have used other programs out there, and this was my absolute most favorite one, and that's a non-biased opinion. I legitimately liked theirs over everybody else's. Just try it. Just try it. Come on. So let's get started. Number one, here's your interface. Basically what you have is a probably blank screen with a thing that says new album like I do up here. On mine, I have different stats showing how much time I've saved and things like that, which is really cool. But basically how you get started is you can create a new album in two ways, or probably more. You can hit new album in the top left here, or you can hit create new album in the bottom right. It doesn't matter which one you do. So I'm gonna hit create new album. From here, you are opted to either import photos or a Lightroom catalog. If you import a Lightroom catalog, that is specifically only for if you're doing edits to your photos. So that means you've probably already culled your photos. If you need to cull and or edit your photos, you'll have to do the top option, which is to import RAW or JPEG files. You can do it from clicking this screen here, or again, down in the bottom right, you can click it from there as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on import, and then I'm going to go to the folder I need to import. So you don't import the individual photo files, you import the actual folder. So once you click on the folder that has all of your photos in it, you will click import this folder. From here, you need to give it a name. So for me, I'm going to call it Aftershoot Tutorial. For you, you'll name it the name of your gallery. And then I'm going to pick the type of shoot. This is important so that the AI understands what type of shoot it's going to be culling. So for me, this is going to be a wedding or engagement shoot, but it also does portraits, family stuff, boudoir, sports, schools, and so much more. Just pick the category of photos that this would fit in. After that, you're going to hit next. And then from here, it will import your photos. It is not culling them yet. And so you'll have to actually do the culling next. Now, when you have the photos imported, you can do a 2-in-1 combo where you do culling and editing all in one go. It's up to you. You would just do try now up here. For me, I like to do each step individually, but it's up to you how you want to do it. And then once my photos are imported, I'm going to go ahead and click on the cull tab up top, which is going to bring me to the culling options. From here, we're going to either add more photos if you didn't get a chance to add all of them, or you can start your culling. You can add more images because sometimes maybe all of your photos aren't in one folder, so you'll have to go ahead and select another folder. But if you have all of your photos, you'll go ahead and select start culling. From here, you'll be opted for plenty of options to do things. Now, you can manually cull in the program, which does make your life easier to manually cull here than another program like Lightroom. But I mean, if you've got the program, why are you manually culling? So for me, I am going to use AI automated culling. You can also select the option for AI assisted culling, which is essentially like a mix of manual culling and AI culling. It'll kind of group duplicate photos and stuff that you choose and things, whereas the AI automated culling does everything for you, and you can still manually go through them, which we'll go into here. So for me, I'm going to do AI automated. It's under weddings and engagements, and here's where you have a few more customizations. So you can do automated AI cull, which is my recommendation. I usually do standard. This is the amount of photos that it'll deliver for you. Now, the other option is a custom AI cull. You can really get into the niche things that you're looking for it to have. For me, I don't really like using the customized AI because I think the automated does a really good job. But if you, let's say you don't want to have AI identify with eyes closed, you can turn that off. You can customize the amount of blurriness that a photo should have before it opts it as a blurry photo. But for me, I just do AI, and I usually just go through all of my photos anyway, which again, we'll go into. And then lastly, there is an option down here that says change stars/colors. This is basically where you can change what you want each category to be. After it culls your photos, it'll put them into categories, and those are put into colors as well. You can change what colors you want based on your preference. I like the default. Now that we have all of our settings set, we're going to hit start culling. And basically what that's going to do is it's going to start culling your photos. Depending on how many photos you have and your computer, it may take longer, it may take shorter. Now our photos are culled. Let's go into all of the good details here. So Number one is your quick filters, arguably one of my most favorite features of Aftershoot that a lot of other programs either didn't have at the time of me using it or still are getting that implemented into their software. So what Aftershoot does is it categorizes your photos into multiple things. It puts them in a selected folder, which is essentially all of the photos it thinks are deliverable good photos. And then it has a highlight section, which those highlights are included in the selected photos. And highlight photos are photos that it thinks are the best of the best. And I know it's not intuitive because it's 4 stars and it has less, which is why earlier you can change your preferences on if you want to change the color or stars of a certain category, which I guess I should do because I would prefer it to be 5 as well. But highlights are basically photos that you can use for, let's say, like a sneak peek or a quick look or something like that. Instead of having to go through all 211 selected photos, you can just use a few out of the highlights section. So highlights are a great way to have the best of the best photos in one place without having to do a crap ton of culling just to get a quick sneak peek out. And then we have blurred photos. So this is kind of a gray area because some people take blurry photos on purpose. So that's why I always recommend still going through all of your photos to make sure it didn't miss any that you wanted to put in the gallery. So blurred photos are essentially photos that it deems to be a little bit blurry. So here's a photo you can see here is blurry because my shutter speed was a little too low. And I was trying to do that on purpose with like a little look. It didn't work, so I changed it and we got some normal photos. But it finds you the blurry photos, whether it's blurry because you have a bad shutter speed or maybe they're out of focus or something like that. And then next we have closed eyes. So closed eyes photos are photos with people with their eyes closed. So sometimes like this, when they're looking down at the ground, it can't tell if they're open. So obviously it thinks their eyes are closed, but they're not because they're looking down. But other photos, you know, when they actually almost do have their eyes closed, it still thinks that. So again, always go through your photos. And then we have all photos, which again, this is just all of your photos. It's nice because they're still color coded and stuff for you. But there's also duplicates and warnings. So photos with warnings, each warning can be a little bit different in terms of what it's trying to tell you. But it's just trying to tell you there's something in the photo that may or may not be desirable. A lot of the times, these are also duplicate photos. And then last but not least, you have My Selections, which mine is empty right now. But a My Selection is essentially a photo that you manually selected. The next section here is the key faces. And key faces are basically all of the faces it recognizes in your photo. And it'll show more than 2 if there's more than 2 people in your photo. And sometimes it can't see everybody, or if they're too small, it won't show up. But it does a zoomed in look at their faces because it shows you if the photo is well in focus or if it's a little out or if it's sharp, things like that. And it tells you if, you know, their eyes are closed too and things like that if you want a specific photo a certain way. And the cool thing is you can adjust the size of this sidebar if you wanted to, if there's more faces and stuff. But for me, I just have 2. You can also zoom out to see more faces, but they'll be smaller. It's totally up to you how you want to customize the interface here. But I love this feature because when you're going through your photos, you're able to really see if they're in focus or maybe if they didn't make the right facial expression or anything like that without having to extra zoom to a photo or click on a photo specifically to look at it. It makes culling super fast even if you manually do it. And then the last thing down here is your duplicates. So this is kind of the bread and butter of Aftershoot in my opinion and why it makes AI culling so important and so much faster. So when you're taking photos, 90% of the time you'll take 5 to 20 photos that all look identical. Maybe you have a high frame rate on when you're taking photos and you're taking 30 per second, or maybe you're taking 10 per second. But either way, you might be taking multiple photos of a specific moment and you'll have 20 to 30 of those and you only need 1. So what Aftershoot does is it takes all of the duplicates of one photo, puts them in a group, and picks the best one out of all of them. Now, sometimes that may not be your opinion if Aftershoot's best is not the one that you like the most, but the cool thing is when you click on a photo, you can actually see the other ones that are available. So you're more than welcome to pick one that is not the one that Aftershoot did. So that's what also makes it so quick to get your culling done. And then just briefly, we do have filters up in the top where you can filter it by stars or by color to be able to see multiple different sections at once. So I could do green and blue to see both selections of highlights and selected at the same time. So there's just little filters you can do, just keep in mind. And you can also have different views too. Let's get into how to actually cull with Aftershoot's AI, because most people think when you throw your photos into culling with AI, you just pick the photos that it get picked, which you can do, but a majority of us still want a little bit of control over the photos we pick. So what you can actually do, and what I usually do, is I'll go to my selected category first, which again includes your blues and your greens, so your highlights and selected. And I'll start at the top. And I'll just briefly go through my photos from a large view, and I'll just go through and I'll just pick photos that I really like. And I'll just like pick a lot of them because, you know, I can get rid of them later. And boom, I picked a bunch of photos that I liked. I picked 40 of them so far. So now that I have all of the photos that I like, which does include a lot of extras that I may not officially want, but at least it gives me a good start of photos that I want to pick. And then I will go ahead and go through all of my blurred, closed eyes photos and others that are in the categories to see if it missed any that I actually really want, like these blurry ones I may want to pick because I like the blurry look. It might look cool, it's trendy. And then lastly, I'll just go to all of my photos and I'll just do a really brief scroll through all of my photos. And that just kind of gives me an idea of, oh, hey, this whole scene doesn't have a photo in my picked. So I'll go through and just make sure I have a photo from every scene that we did in the shoot to make sure that I have all of the photos I want. Rarely do I go through my all and find a photo that it missed, but it is possible depending on your style and how you take photos if you have a lot of blurry ones and stuff like that. But that's usually what I'll do, is just a real brief look to see if I have any missing photos. And then once I'm happy with that, I'll go to all of my selections and then re-go through my selections again. But this time I'll go full screen by either clicking up here or I'll double click the photo and it brings it to a bigger screen. And then I'll basically just scroll through them with my keys left and right, and then I'll get rid of photos that I don't want anymore. Like this one seems a little blurry, so I'll just get rid of it. And then I'll just keep scrolling through. And eventually, after going through all of these photos, I will have the amount of photos that I'm left with. And usually this is the final cull. And normally I can do this with a multiple thousand photo gallery in just probably 10 to 20 minutes after it's done culling, because it's such a simple and fast process to do. So that's generally how I cull. You can do it your own way. I just wanted to give you some more looks into how culling works in Aftershoot, and it's not just that you rely on AI. You can still manually go through all of your photos if you wanted to. This is kind of just like a helper that really saves you time, because in my previous Aftershoot videos, you'll see it took me countless hours to cull 3,000 photos, and it took Aftershoot like 20 minutes. So 20 minutes plus maybe another 20 minutes to go through them to do the final cull, still 40 minutes versus 3-4 hours. I mean, you're still saving a crap ton of time. Now that you have your photos culled, there's two things you can do. You can export them in many ways, or you can send them to the editing feature in Aftershoot. And if you don't have the editing feature set up, we'll also go over that here in this video. But first, if you just wanted to export your photos to Lightroom, you hit the export button at the bottom right, and there's multiple ways you can do this. So one of them is you can export your photos to a folder. And what it'll do is it'll store both your photo and an XMP file, which is basically your metadata. It's the cull, it's the color, it's the star rating, all of that of your photo right next to it, so that when you import to an editing program later, it will have that data so that you're good to go. The other things you can do is just import straight to an actual editing program. So you can do Lightroom, Classic or regular. You can do Capture One, Bridge, Photoshop. And then of course you can also do continue to editing. This is one way you can get to the editing software as well. So those are some ways to export. The other way you can actually export if you're having trouble is you can go ahead to your selections and then select all of your photos by Control A or Command A on your keyboard, depending if you're Windows or Mac, and then simply drag and drop the photos onto your editing software like Lightroom if you're on the import tab. That's how you export your photos if you're done culling. If you wanted to do the editing, again, you can hit export and go to continue editing, or you can click the edit tab up top here. Now, there's two things to note. If this is a new program for you, you probably haven't taught Aftershoot how to do your edits, which is a very, very imperative thing to understand about how AI is editing your photos. It doesn't just take a generalized preset or anything that it just has in the world and edits your photos however it wants to. There's two things you can do when editing your photos, and I'm gonna go over both of them here. Number one is when you're on the home page of your Aftershoot software, you can go to New Profile, which generally this requires you to have a more premium subscription. But what you can do here is you can actually find pre-built AI styles or create your own. And what the cool thing is about the pre-built ones is there's an entire database of other creators and people out there who have already made presets based on tens of thousands of their own photos and edits. So for example, Cassidy Lynn is a photographer I actually follow on TikTok who has her own preset built into Aftershoot, which you can use if you like her style, as well as a bunch of other creators that are on here, which is really cool. So if you don't want to build your own, or maybe you don't have enough photos to train this AI, which I'll get into here in a second, you can use other people's presets. So it's a really cool way to be able to edit your photos with a look that you like without having to really dive deep into manually doing that yourself. Basically, what you have to do to make your own AI preset is you have to upload a minimum of 2,500 photos that are edited in a Lightroom catalog or another editing program's catalog to send it into Aftershoot so its AI can be trained on how you personally edit your photos. So generally they do recommend 5,000 or more photos, but I believe 2,500 is the minimum. And so when you train it, you have to have a lot of photos that are already edited in the style that you want. So you'll see a screen kind of like this when you go to the editing. It just won't have any catalogs in it. This is my existing one. And what you can do is either choose from recent things that you've done, or you can actually browse your system for a new one. So what you'll do is you'll go into your system and find the actual Lightroom catalog, the project file, and you'll upload the project file. And so once you upload this project file, you'll have to select the photos. You want to select all of them usually. And then this says there's 3 filters applied. So I'm going to click on that. And this is where you select the photos that are edited, because I know some people do different things within their programs to mark them as edited. For this one, I would probably just do unflagged, because most of mine in this category are unflagged photos. You can pick specific cameras that they came from. So once you're done with that, you'll hit apply filters to 53 images. So if that sounds about how much photos you have in that catalog, then you'll click apply. And then from there, you'll hit upload 53 photos. And then that's one done. So you do that multiple times with a bunch of different catalogs that you have available until you have 2,500 photos total. Now, the photos for 2,500 have to be edited, not just 2,500 photos in general that you've taken. It needs to learn and understand how you edit, how you change what sliders in the program, how you change the exposure, how bright your photo is. It takes histogram data. It takes all the data from your photo, and it helps build your own custom profile so that it will edit your photos like your other photos are already edited. One thing that Aftershoot doesn't do right now, but I'm sure it's in the works or coming soon, is it doesn't take your masking profiles of every photo that you edit. It only takes the editing portion of your photo. However, when you do edits, you can actually apply a default Aftershoot masking profile, so it'll automatically mask every photo when you import it into Lightroom. So it is kind of a nice intermediary thing that it includes, so you don't have to manually mask every single photo. You might have to go in and mess with the mask, but it'll already have that AI masking done for you in Lightroom. So that's a really nice thing to already have, because we all know when you click the AI subject masking, it can take a few seconds to a minute to grab the subject to do that. And that'll already be done for you. So it does save you a little bit of time even just doing that. So once you have your AI profile built for edits, or you want to use somebody else's, you'll go ahead and go back to the edit tab in the gallery that you just made, and then you can go ahead and click that. If you did download some of the presets from the marketplace, they will be available here as well. I'm going to go ahead and click the custom profile that I have made. I'm going to keep Adobe color. You can also apply AI cropping. It'll auto crop your photos, which is really fun. I usually keep off AI cropping. It's up to you. I do turn on AI straightening though, because it is nice to have a straightened photo if some of them are not already. And then I do turn on that AI masking, which is what I talked about earlier. You can do a mask where it'll only just mask the subject and do no edits, or you could do a mask and an edit. So it's up to you how you want it to be done. I think that the default one does a really good job of editing your mask, but sometimes I do have to mess with a lot of them, but it's nice to already have that mask completed. From there, you're going to select which photos you want. For me, I'm going to select all of the my selections, because that's the reason we went and did all of the culling. So unfortunately, my AI profile got corrupted, probably from me messing with it for the sake of this tutorial. So I am going to use just a marketplace preset from Cassidy Lynn. Why not? Sounds fun. And then you'll go ahead and export the the photos. And then it'll do the edits, and it only took a couple of seconds, and then it's ready to export. So from here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to export it straight to Lightroom Classic because it's going to make my life the easiest, and we'll open Lightroom. As you can see just real briefly in Lightroom here, it did make different adjustments to the photo. It even messed with the curves and everything like that. So it does quite a lot of manipulating your photo, and it looks at most of the things within your editing, which is really fun. And then also if you go to your masking tab, it says Aftershoot because it's an Aftershoot mask, and then it actually messes with the adjustments a little bit for the mask too. So generally, if you can see here, Aftershoot does a great job. That's basically Aftershoot in a nutshell. In terms of how to cull and how to edit your photos. It's a really, really awesome way to get your photos culled and edited super fast, because we all know it's one of the most tedious processes. If you want to try the program out, JT15, 15% off. Thanks for Aftershoot for sponsoring this video, and I'll see you guys on the next one.